6 months had passed since her triumph in the wasteland simulation at Galactic University. That test designed to make her fail had instead catapulted her into galactic politics. Now she represented Earth in discussions about integrating humans into the vast knowledge networks of the Confederation. Zara smoothed down her blue diplomatic uniform, still unused to the respect it commanded among alien species who had previously dismissed humans as primitive curiosities. She was only 20, 2 years old, barely an adult by Earth standards, but here she carried the future of human integration on her shoulders. Ambassador Lily swam up to the edge of her water tank, rolling gracefully to face Zara. The Aqualian diplomat had been her first friend at the university, and now served as her advisor in the complex world of galactic politics. "The council is assembling," Lily said, her voice bubbling through the translation device. "They want your input on the Human Education Initiative." Zara nodded, following Lily toward the Grand Council chamber. Her heart beat faster with each step. The Education Council controlled knowledge distribution across thousands of worlds, deciding which species gained access to what information humans had been granted. Only the most basic technological data since first contact 30 years ago. Their classification as a developing species had limited Earth's growth and integration. The chamber doors parted, revealing an enormous circular room with tiered seating. Representatives from the major spacefaring races occupied specialized environments. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others basked under artificial radiation lamps, while the methane breathers clustered in their sealed section. High Counselor Nara glowed brighter as Zara entered. The Luminarian acknowledged her with a slight bow. "We welcome Earth's representative to discuss the proposed education initiative." Zara took her seat at the small Earth desk, feeling the eyes of hundreds of alien delegates upon her. She activated her datapad, reviewing the proposal one final time. "The Human Education Initiative calls for graduated access to Confederation knowledge databases," she began. "Our species has demonstrated exceptional adaptability and problem-solving capabilities. We request the opportunity to contribute to galactic knowledge while gaining access to scientific and cultural information, currently restricted to USA." Rumble of discussion spread through the chamber. The Thaxon representative rose from his seat, his armored body gleaming under the lights. "Humans have existed as a unified planetary government for less than 50 years, he said. "Your species still engages in regional conflicts and environmental degradation. You lack the stability required for advanced knowledge access." Zara had anticipated this argument. "We acknowledge our imperfections," she replied, "but consider how much humans have accomplished despite our limitations. In 30 years since first contact, we mastered faster-than-light travel technology that took most species centuries to develop. After receiving the basic principles, favorable murmurs from several delegations encouraged her. The Coraxian representative, a crystalline being who had lived for over 2,000 years, raised a glittering appendage. "May I remind the Council of the Keldorian incident," she said. 300 years ago, we granted advanced knowledge to a developing species. The Keldorians weaponized antimatter technology and destroyed 2 inhabited moons before they were contained." Silence fell over the chamber. Zara understood the fear. She had studied the incident thoroughly. What happened with the Keldorians was tragic, she acknowledged, but humans have demonstrated a different pattern. "We adapt existing technology in unique ways rather than simply applying it as designed. Our strength is innovation, not replication." High Counselor Nara floated forward in her energy containment field. "I propose a test," she said, "a demonstration of human problem-solving under controlled conditions." The chamber erupted in discussion. Zara exchanged glances with Lily, who nodded encouragingly. "What kind of test?" Zara asked. "The Grand Archives contain technologies from extinct civilizations," said Nara. "Many artifacts remain non-functional despite our best efforts to understand them. We will select 3 such artifacts. If humans can activate even one, we will reconsider your species classification." The Thaxon representative pounded his armored fist against his desk. "Objects that have stumped our greatest minds for millennia," he scoffed. "This is hardly a fair test. But that is precisely why it is perfect, replied Nara. The humans claim innovative thinking as their strength. Let them prove it. Zara took a deep breath. What happens if we succeed? Full level 3, access to the Confederation knowledge base, said Nara, and recognition as a contributing species rather than a developing one. Zara didn't hesitate. We accept. 3 days later, Zara found herself in a secure laboratory deep beneath the Confederation headquarters. Kate, her friend from the university, had joined her along with Mia, a brilliant engineer from the Mars colony. They stood before 3 pedestals, each holding an alien artifact of unknown purpose. Mia circled the first object, a spherical device covered in swirling patterns of metal and crystal extinct species. She muttered, "Wonderful, just wonderful. They couldn't have given us something from a civilization we have records of." Kate laughed, adjusting her golden Solarian environmental suit. No one said representing humanity would be easy. She ran a scanner over the second artifact, a rectangular frame filled with something that resembled liquid metal, but behaved unlike any known element. Zara focused on the third item, a simple-looking rod about 30 centimeters long, made of dull gray material with no visible controls or interfaces. She picked it up carefully. The moment her skin contacted the surface, tiny lights flickered briefly along its length, then faded. "Did you see that?" asked Kate, moving to Zara's side. Zara nodded. The rod had responded to her touch, even if only for a moment. She ran her fingers along the surface, feeling slight indentations too subtle to see. The monitoring camera in the corner reminded them that the council was watching their every move. The pressure to succeed weighed heavily on all 3 women. Mia had disassembled her scanner, plugging components into a makeshift interface. She pressed against the spherical artifact. Nothing happened. She sighed in frustration. These artifacts could be millions of years old. The power sources are probably long dead. "What if they don't need power sources?" said Zara, still examining the rod. "What if they respond to something else, like what?" asked Kate. Zara thought back to her xenobiology classes. Many ancient species had abilities humans lacked: telepathy, bioelectrical manipulation, quantum awareness. The artifacts might be designed for beings with senses or abilities humans didn't possess. "We need to think differently," she said. "Put aside our assumptions about how technology should work." For the next 6 hours, the women tried everything they could think of. They exposed the artifacts to different energy frequencies, temperatures, and even sound waves. Nothing worked. Exhaustion began to set in. Zara stared at the rod in her hand, replaying that brief moment when the lights had flickered. What was different about that first touch? The monitoring. Officials had provided basic data about the extinct species that had created each artifact. The rod came from the Villani, a species that had vanished nearly 2 million years ago. The data mentioned they had been silicon-based life forms with remarkable bioelectrical capabilities. "Wait," she said suddenly. "Kate, do you still have that neural interface from your astrophysics lab? The one you used to visualize hyperdimensional equations?" Kate nodded, pulling a small device from her bag. "It's not designed for this, but we could modify it." Zara explained her theory. The Villani communicated through bioelectrical signals. If the rod was designed to respond to their neural patterns, perhaps they could simulate something similar. Mia quickly reconfigured the neural interface, connecting it to the rod, while Kate adjusted the settings to emit patterns similar to what they knew of Villani neural activity. The rod remained dark. "This isn't working," muttered Mia. Zara thought harder, remembering something from her xenobiology class. Most silicon-based life forms perceive a different portion of the electromagnetic spectrum than carbon-based life. Their visual range extends into ultraviolet frequencies. She adjusted the interface to emit patterns across a wider spectrum. The lights on the rod flickered weakly. "That's it," she exclaimed. "We need to think beyond human sensory limitations." For another hour, they refined their approach. Finally, the rod glowed brightly, emitting a soft humming sound. A holographic display appeared, above it showing stellar configurations and what appeared to be navigational data. "We did it," breathed Kate. The laboratory door slid open as High Counselor Nara entered, accompanied by several council members. The luminarian studied the activated rod, her energy form pulsing with interest. "Impressive," she said. "You succeeded where specialists failed for centuries. How did you determine the activation method?" Zara explained their reasoning process, emphasizing how they had to step outside human perceptual frameworks to understand the artifact. The Thaxan representative looked unconvinced. "A lucky guess," he grumbled, but several other council members were nodding with approval. High Counselor Nara raised her glowing hand. "This demonstration confirms what we observed in the survival simulation. Humans possess exceptional problem-solving capabilities, particularly in approaching challenges from unconventional perspectives." She turned to Zara. "As promised, the Council will upgrade Earth's status. Your species will receive Level 3 knowledge, access with appropriate safeguards," as the Council members filed out. Zara, Kate, and Mia exchanged triumphant smiles. Their success would open doors for all of humanity. But Zara noticed the Thaxan representative's hostile glare as he departed. She had a feeling their challenges were just beginning. The more humans proved themselves, the more certain species would see them as a threat. Yet she felt hope too. Most of the council seemed genuinely impressed. Several had even asked to meet with human researchers to discuss collaborative projects. Perhaps humans would find their place among the stars not through dominance but through innovation. As she left the laboratory, Zara wondered what other mysteries waited in the grand archives and what humanity might contribute to a civilization that spanned the galaxy. The journey ahead would be challenging, but for the first time since joining the Galactic University, she felt truly confident that humans belonged among the stars. I'll create Part 2. The Grand Archives stretched before Zara like an endless ocean of knowledge. A vast underground complex beneath the Confederation capital. The facility housed billions of artifacts, records, and technologies from thousands of civilizations. Some dated back millions of years. Those with the highest security clearance could access information from the dawn of galactic civilization. As Earth's new liaison, Zara now had permission to explore portions of the archives previously off-limits to humans. She walked alongside Counselor Alara, a Medusan scholar, whose serpentine body glided effortlessly across the polished floor. Tentacles of translucent flesh extended from Ilara's head, each ending in a sensory organ capable of perceiving energy states invisible to human eyes. These sections contain technological records from approximately 50,000 years ago, Ilara explained. Her voice emerged from a translation device at her throat. We believe this knowledge level is appropriate for humanity at this stage. Zara nodded, though she felt a flicker of frustration. 50,000 years might seem generous, but some species had access to information dating back millions of years. Still, this represented a significant upgrade from the previous restrictions. A human research team will arrive next week, she said. 8 specialists from Earth to begin studying and cataloging what we find here. The Medusan scholar, rippled in what Zara had learned, was an expression of cautious approval. Your species has earned this opportunity, she said. But remember, knowledge without wisdom can lead to disaster. The Confederation has witnessed the collapse of many promising civilizations who gained access to technologies they were not culturally prepared to manage. The subtle warning was clear. The Council was watching how humans handled this privilege. As they turned a corner, they encountered a group of Thaxan researchers. The armored aliens stiffened at the sight of Zara. The lead researcher, Darax, was the brother of the Thaxan representative who had opposed humans at every turn. The primitive explores our archives, he said, his translation device barely masking the contempt in his voice. Remember, human, these treasures survived millions of years before your species learned to make fire. They will remain long after your kind has vanished. Alara extended her tentacles in a calming gesture. Researcher Darax, the Council has granted humans appropriate access. Let us maintain professional courtesy. The Thaxan made a dismissive gesture before leading his team away. Zara noticed they carried artifacts from a section marked with symbols she didn't recognize. What? Were they researching, she asked, when they were out of earshot. Alara hesitated. The Thaxon Collective has been granted special access to military historical records, she admitted. They claim to be documenting extinct defense systems for academic purposes. Revelation troubled Zara. The Thaxons were known for their militaristic culture and territorial ambitions. Their empire controlled 17 star systems on the edge of Confederation space. Her concern must have shown on her face, because Alara added, quickly, the artifacts they study are non-functional war relics from civilizations long gone. The Council monitors all research conducted here. Zara nodded but made a mental note to learn more about Thaxon activities. The tour continued through sections, containing medical knowledge, astronomical charts, and cultural records. After several hours, Alara brought her to a small, isolated chamber. This area contains something I believe will interest you, she said. Activating the door with a touch of her tentacle inside, stood a single pedestal. On it rested what appeared to be a book, bound in material that shimmered with an inner light. This is the only known record of the predecessors, said Alara reverently. The first spacefaring civilization in our galaxy. They seeded worlds with life, experimented with planetary engineering, and created the foundation technologies that many species later built upon. They vanished over 10 million years ago. Zara stared at the book in awe. No one has been able to open it, Alara continued. Since its discovery 8 million years ago, countless scholars have tried. The material resists all scanning technologies and attempts to access its contents. Zara stepped closer, curious despite herself. The cover seemed to ripple, slightly as she approached, like the surface of water disturbed by a gentle breeze may. She asked, extending her hand. Alara made a gesture of permission. Though I doubt you'll have more success than beings with millennia. More experience. Zara carefully placed her palm on the cover. The material felt warm, almost alive beneath her fingers. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, to her shock, the book began to glow. The cover parted, revealing pages filled with symbols that shifted and changed as she watched. Impossible, whispered Alara, her tentacles writhing in agitation. The book has never responded to any species before. Zara stared at the changing symbols. They seemed almost familiar, though she couldn't understand them. She reluctantly removed her hand, and the book sealed itself once more. The Medusan scholar was trembling. What does this mean? She asked, her voice unsteady. Zara shook her head. I don't know. Perhaps it's just coincidence. But Alara was already activating her communication device. The Council must be informed, she said. This discovery has significant implications. Within hours, Zara found herself once again before the full Galactic Council, this time surrounded by security drones. The chamber buzzed with alarmed conversations as High Counselor. Nara called for order. The human has activated a predecessor artifact, she announced, causing a new wave of exclamations. This artifact has remained sealed through millions of years of study by thousands of species. The Thaxon representative rose from his seat. This confirms our suspicions, he declared. Humans are not what they appear to be. There must be a connection between them and the predecessors. Why else would the artifact respond? Zara felt a chill. The implications were staggering. The predecessors had vanished millions of years before humans evolved on Earth. Counselor Nara. I have no explanation for what happened, she said honestly. The book responded to my touch, but I couldn't read or understand anything inside it. A Quaraxian scientist approached. The crystalline being had directed archive research for over 500 years. There is a theory, she said, her voice chiming like glass bells. The predecessors were known to seed primitive life on thousands of worlds. Some believe they encoded triggers in certain species' genetic makeup, responses that would activate only after these species reached specific development thresholds. The council chamber fell silent as the implications settled. Are you suggesting humans carry predecessor genetic markers? Asked. Narrett would explain the artifact's response, said the Quaraxian. It might also explain the unusual adaptability and innovative thinking humans display. These could be traits the predecessors specifically engineered. The Thaxon representative slammed his armored fist down. The predecessors were known to create weapon species, he shouted, species designed for specific functions, including warfare. Humanity must be contained until we understand what they were designed to be. Zara felt a surge of anger. We're not weapons or created things, she said firmly. We're a naturally evolved species with our own history and identity. This response to the artifact could be simple coincidence, or some physical property unique to humans that has nothing to do with genetic engineering. Nara raised her glowing hands for silence. We must investigate this matter thoroughly, she declared. I propose a genetic study to search for any unusual markers in human DNA that might correspond with known predecessor patterns. Additionally, I recommend the human liaison be given supervised access to the artifact to determine if further information can be extracted. The vote was close, but the council approved both measures. Zara found herself in an uncomfortable position. Suddenly, she was not just a diplomat, but a research subject. Her blood and tissue samples would be analyzed while scholars watched her interactions with the mysterious book. As the council session ended, Kate approached her in the corridor. The Solarian looked worried, her golden skin had dimmed, a sign of distress. Kate studied the display. These sequences, they seem to be activating in response to certain environmental and technological triggers, she said. They become more active as humans advance technologically and expand into space. The implication was clear. The predecessors had indeed placed something within human genetics, something designed to emerge gradually as the species developed. Mia moved to another section of the console, prompting a new holographic display. This one showed what appeared to be a timeline stretching millions of years into the past and thousands into the future. The predecessors were playing a very long game, she said. Her algorithm translated portions of the timeline. Apparently they seeded hundreds of worlds, calculating evolutionary paths across millions of years. They were looking for specific traits to emerge naturally within the species they seeded. But why, asked Zara. What were they trying to create? She directed her attention to the central platform. As she stepped onto it, the entire chamber transformed. The crystalline structures pulsed with energy and a new hologram formed around them, this one showing a humanoid figure composed of pure energy, similar to the Luminarians, but far more complex. A voice spoke, directly into their minds, not through their communication systems. We greet the inheritors. The thought carried emotional impressions of approval and anticipation. The three women froze in shock. You understand our purpose. The voice continued. You question your role. This is expected. Curiosity is a necessary trait. Zara found her voice speaking aloud, though she sensed the entity could perceive her thoughts directly. What are we meant to inherit? She asked. What did the predecessors want from humans? Not from you, the response came. With you. We did not create weapons or tools. We created potential partners. The holographic figure shifted its energy patterns, rippling with complex emotions. The predecessors had reached the limits of physical existence. It explained they had transcended, becoming beings of pure energy and thought. But this transformation had cost them something essential: connection to the physical universe. They could observe but no longer interact with matter. Their magnificent civilization had become a community of watchers, so they seeded worlds with life containing specific potential genetic sequences that would remain dormant until the host species reached sufficient development. Each inheritor species had different qualities. The sequence in humans emphasized adaptability, creative problem-solving, and empathic reasoning. You are not the only potential inheritors, the entity continued. But you have progressed furthest in this cycle. Your species encountered difficulties that forced innovative solutions. You developed technology at an accelerated rate. Your neural structures allow both logical and intuitive processing. Mia stepped forward. What happens now? She asked. What are we supposed to do with this information? The hologram shifted again, showing hundreds of installation sites across the galaxy, similar to the one they now stood in. Each contains knowledge and technology left by the predecessors. Each requires genetic keys to activate. You stand at a crossroads. Inheritors. The voice seemed to come from everywhere now. The Confederation fears what they do not understand. They see threats where we placed potential. The knowledge we offer must be shared, not hoarded. It was meant to benefit all sentient life. Zara understood then what the dormant genes truly represented. Not weapons, but bridges. A means for physical beings to access and utilize the advanced knowledge of the transcended predecessors. A symbiotic relationship that could elevate all species. Why? Humans, she asked. Why us specifically? Your species emerged on a challenging world. The voice carried impressions of Earth through its developmental phases. Your early struggles created neural pathways emphasizing cooperation and innovation. Your brains developed symbolic thinking, abstraction, and empathy. This combination is rare. Kate had been analyzing the holographic data while they conversed. These installations, she said, they contain technologies beyond anything in the Confederation archives. Indeed, confirmed the entity. Technologies to heal damaged worlds, extend lifespans, and eventually bridge the gap between physical and energy states. The predecessors wish to share with all life. But such knowledge requires caretakers with both intelligence and wisdom. Zara felt the weight of this revelation. If humans were identified as primary inheritors, it would forever change their standing in the galaxy. Some would see it as validation, others as a threat, particularly the Thaxans, who already viewed humanity with suspicion. We need to bring this information to the Confederation Council, she said. We need transparency, not secrets. The holographic entity pulsed with approval. This is why you were chosen. Your first instinct is to share, not to claim power. But be warned, not all will welcome this revelation. Some will seek to control rather than understand. The chamber began to download data into their suit systems, knowledge to verify their discovery and explain the predecessor legacy information. That would change galactic civilization forever. As the download completed, the entity left them with a final message. The predecessors await the day when physical and transcended beings can once again communicate directly. You are the bridge inheritors. The future depends on wisdom as much as knowledge. The hologram faded, leaving the three women standing in the dimly lit chamber, each processing the enormity of what they had discovered. You realize what this means, said Mia, breaking the silence. The Thaxans were right about one thing. Humans are different, but not in the way they feared. Kate nodded. The Confederation will never be the same after this. Some species will embrace us. Others will fear us even more. Zara stared at the now dormant console, thinking of the political firestorm that awaited their return. I know one thing, she said. We can't keep this secret, and we can't restrict it to humans alone. That would prove the fears correct. The predecessor knowledge must be available to all species, ready to receive it. As they prepared to return to their ship, alerts flashed across their communication systems. Multiple vessels had entered the system. Some Confederation, but others. The sensors identified Thaxan warships. Somehow they've tracked us, said Kate. Her golden skin dimming with alarm. Zara wasn't surprised. The Thaxans had been monitoring human activities closely since the book incident. They must have detected the unauthorized departure and followed at a distance. We need to get this information to the Council before the Thaxans can interfere, she said. We can't let them control the narrative. The women hurried back to the surface, but as they emerged from the tunnel, they saw multiple ships descending through the thin atmosphere. Their small vessel was already surrounded by a Thaxan landing party. Weapons ready, the Thaxan commander ordered, his armored form imposing in the low gravity. The humans will surrender all data collected from this restricted site. Behind them, a Confederation diplomatic vessel was landing. Counselor Nara emerged, her luminous form bright even in the daylight. This situation has escalated beyond diplomacy, she said. Her energy pattern conveyed concern. Humans have violated Confederation law by accessing a restricted site. The Thaxan Collective demands custody of both the humans and any artifacts discovered. Zara stepped forward, positioning herself between her friends and the Thaxan weapons. This site contains predecessor knowledge meant for all species. she declared. Not just humans, and certainly not just Thaxans. The information must be presented to the full council. The Thaxan commander advanced human deception. He growled. Your species has claimed connection to the predecessors to gain advantage. Now you trespass on forbidden world seeking weapons. No weapons, Zara insisted. Knowledge. The predecessors left installations throughout the galaxy. Their purpose was to share advancement with all intelligent life counselor. Nara moved between them. I sense truth in the human's words, she said to the Thaxan commander. The council must evaluate this discovery. For a tense moment, it seemed the Thaxans might attack, but finally their commander lowered his weapon. The humans will return to Confederation, space, he said. But we will escort them, and the data they collected will be secured until the council determines its authenticity. As they boarded the diplomatic vessel, Zara knew the real challenge still lay ahead. The knowledge they carried could unite the galaxy or tear it apart. Everything depended on how it was presented and whether the species of the Confederation could overcome their fears and rivalries to embrace a shared legacy. She clutched the data storage containing the predecessor. Messages, whatever came next, humanity had taken its first steps toward a destiny none of them could have imagined. Now I'll create. Part 4, the Confederation Council Chamber, had never been so full. Representatives from all member species crowded the tiered seating. Security forces lined the walls, their weapons visible but lowered. The air crackled with tension as Zara stood at the center, addressing the largest gathering of galactic leaders in recent history. She had spent 3 days under guard following their return from the predecessor site. The data they discovered had been secured, reviewed by experts, and verified as authentic. Now the moment had come to share their findings with the galaxy. What we discovered is not a weapon or a threat, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. It is an invitation. The predecessors did not vanish. They evolved. They transcended physical form, becoming energy beings who can observe but no longer interact with our reality. This changes everything, she whispered. The Thaxans already feared human potential. Now they'll see us as a direct threat. Zara nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility increase. If humans did carry some legacy of the predecessors, what did that mean for Earth's place in the galaxy? Would they be welcomed as inheritors of an ancient legacy or feared as potential weapons? More importantly, what secrets did the book contain, and why had it responded to her touch alone over the next few days? Teams of xenobiologists collected samples from Zara and the human researchers who had arrived from Earth. Each day she spent hours in the secure chamber with the book, trying to understand its contents. Occasionally symbols would form patterns she almost recognized before shifting into new configurations. 1 week into the research, Mia made a breakthrough. While examining Zara's genetic data, she discovered unusual sequences that didn't match standard human patterns. These sections appeared dormant, said Mia, pointing to her findings. Most genetic testing wouldn't even notice them. They only become visible when exposed to certain energy frequencies, like those in the archive chamber, noted Kate. The discovery fueled new speculation. Some council members saw it as confirmation of the weapon species theory. Others suggested humans might be repositories of predecessor knowledge intended to emerge only when humanity reached a certain development stage. Through it all, the Thaxans grew increasingly hostile. Their researchers abandoned their previous studies to focus entirely on human biology. Their military vessels began conducting exercises near Earth colony. World Zara knew time was running short. Whatever the truth, they needed answers before the situation escalated further. That night alone in her quarters, she reviewed everything they had learned so far. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something obvious. Something about the book and its connection to humanity. The next morning, she requested a different approach. I need to spend time with the artifact alone, she told Nara. No observers, no recording devices. The Luminarian hesitated. That would violate security protocols, but it might be the only way to progress. Zara argued something about the presence of observers may be inhibiting the book's response. After consultation with other council members, Nara reluctantly agreed Zara would have 1 hour alone with the predecessor artifact in the silent chamber. Zara sat before the shimmering book. Taking a deep breath, she placed both hands on its cover. The material warmed beneath her touch, glowing brightly as it opened. Symbols swirled across the pages, shifting and changing. This time with no distractions, Zara focused entirely on the patterns. She cleared her mind, letting the symbols flow through her consciousness. Without understanding how, she began to sense meanings, impressions, rather than direct translations. The book wasn't just a record. It was a key to something the predecessors had hidden throughout the galaxy. Something they had left for species that evolved along certain paths. Not weapons, but guides. Inheritors who might one day understand what the predecessors had been trying to create. As this realization formed in her mind, the book responded. The symbols stabilized, forming clear images of star systems, planetary coordinates, and what appeared to be structures hidden beneath the surfaces of numerous worlds. Zara gasped as understanding flooded through her. The predecessors hadn't vanished. They had transformed, moving beyond physical form, but they'd left behind fragments of their knowledge for species that showed the necessary potential. When her hour ended, and the council members returned, they found Zara sitting calmly beside the closed book. Her expression was serene despite the momentous discovery she had made. She chose her words carefully. "We are not weapons," she said, "but we have been chosen as one of many potential inheritor species. The predecessors left markers in dozens of developing worlds, genetic keys that would allow access to portions of their knowledge when these species were ready. The implications would forever change humanity's place in galactic civilization." But even as she shared her discovery, Zara kept one piece of information to herself. The coordinates of a predecessor installation hidden on a small moon in an uncharted system. Something the book had revealed was meant for humans alone. The game had changed, and Zara knew the real challenge was just beginning. "Now I'll create part 3. The small exploration vessel hummed as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Stars blazed against the velvet darkness beyond the viewport. Zara stood on the bridge alongside Kate and Mia, watching as a small yellowish moon came into view. Their destination, after weeks of careful planning and secret preparation, they had left. Confederation space without authorization, a serious diplomatic violation. Zara knew she risked her position as Earth's liaison, perhaps even risked sanctions against humanity itself. But the coordinates revealed by the predecessor book had compelled her to act. The installation hidden on this moon contained knowledge meant specifically for humans, and she feared what might happen if the Thaxans or other suspicious factions reached it first. "We should be beyond tracking range," said Mia, checking. "The sensor displays no sign of pursuit so far." Kate adjusted the environmental controls, her golden skin glowing with nervous energy. "Still can't believe we actually did this," she muttered. "Stealing a Confederation scout ship navigating through restricted space." "We borrowed the ship," Zara corrected, focusing the scanners on the moon's surface. "And technically this system isn't claimed by any Confederation member," Mia laughed. "No, just restricted for the past 1,000,000 years, according to the archives. Wonder why the scanners revealed no artificial structures on the surface but detected unusual energy readings from beneath a massive crater near the equator." Zara guided the ship into orbit. She had selected Kate and Mia not just because they were friends she trusted, but because each brought crucial skills. Kate understood alien technologies better than any human in the Confederation, while Mia could engineer solutions to almost any technical challenge. They landed near the crater edge. The moon had a thin atmosphere of nitrogen and methane, requiring them to wear environmental suits as they stepped onto the dusty surface. The landscape was barren, jagged rocks and impact craters stretching to the horizon. 2 gas giants loomed in the sky, their massive forms dominating the view. "According to the scanners, the energy source is beneath that formation," said Zara, pointing to a cluster of unusually regular rock columns at the craters. Kate scanned the columns. "These aren't natural," she said. "The material composition is identical to the book in the archives." The women approached cautiously. As they neared, the columns began to glow with the same shimmering light as the predecessor artifact. Zara reached out, touching the nearest one. The ground trembled beneath them, and a section of the surface slid away, revealing a dark passage leading downward. Guests were expected, said Mia. Her voice tense through the communication system. They descended into darkness, their suit lights illuminating a tunnel that appeared to be carved from a single piece of the same shimmering material. The passage spiraled downward for nearly a kilometer before opening into a vast chamber. Zara gasped as her light swept across the space. The chamber was filled with crystalline structures that caught and amplified their beams, creating a constellation of light points. In the center stood what appeared to be a control console surrounding a raised platform. Symbols similar to those in the book covered every surface. As they approached, the console activated, shimmering with inner light. This technology is millions of years old, yet it looks brand new, whispered Kate. No degradation, no damage. The console responded to their presence, projecting a holographic display above the platform. The image showed the galaxy with certain star systems highlighted, including Earth. Zara studied the projection. It's some kind of map. She said each highlighted system contains a world where the predecessors seeded life. She reached toward the image of Earth. The hologram responded, expanding to show their home planet surrounded by data streams in the predecessor language. Kate activated her translation algorithm. The program had been developed based on the partial understanding Zara had gained from the book. Though incomplete, it might provide some insight into the displayed information. The algorithm processed for several minutes before producing results. Seed world designation, Earth status, active genetic, profile progressing according to parameters. Stage 3, development achieved. Inheritor protocol. Initiated. Mia frowned. Inheritor protocol. What does that mean? Zara moved her hand through the hologram, causing it to shift, showing other highlighted worlds. Some projections showed thriving civilizations. Others displayed only primitive development stages or extinct species. The translation continued. 16 viable inheritor species identified in current cycle Earth. Humans display highest adaptation and innovation parameters. A chill ran through Zara. Highest parameters. What made humans different from the other potential inheritor species, and what exactly were they meant to inherit? She directed the hologram back to Earth. The display changed, showing human DNA with certain sequences highlighted. These matched the dormant genes Mia had identified in their research. Ambassador Lily swam to the edge of her water tank. How does it feel, she asked, to change the course of galactic history? Zara smiled at her friend. Terrifying, she admitted, but also right somehow. Like we're finally asking the correct questions. Do you really believe the Thaxans will cooperate? Asked Lily. Their empire has been expanding for centuries. They value strength above all else. They value survival, replied Zara. And they recognize the potential benefits of cooperation. The predecessor knowledge could transform their civilization as much as ours. The Confederation was entering uncharted territory. Species that had maintained careful distance for millennia would now work closely together, studying technologies beyond their individual comprehension. The potential for conflict remained high, but so did the possibility of unprecedented advancement. As she prepared for the expedition the next day, Zara reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From a struggling student at Galactic University to a key figure in reshaping the Confederation's future. The path ahead remained uncertain, but one thing was clear. The predecessors had set events in motion millions of years ago with patience and vision that spanned eons. Whatever came next, humans would no longer be seen as primitive newcomers to galactic civilization. They had taken their place among the stars not through conquest or dominance, but through the very qualities the predecessors had valued: adaptability, innovation, and the willingness to reach beyond established boundaries. The inheritor species faced a shared destiny, one that transcended their differences and might eventually bridge the gap between physical existence and whatever lay beyond. As the expedition prepared to depart, Zara felt a profound sense of purpose. This was just the beginning of a journey that would transform not just humanity, but all intelligent life in the galaxy. Now I'll create the final Part 5. Title: Part 5. 5 years had passed since the discovery of the predecessor. Legacy years of careful research, diplomatic negotiations, and gradual revelation as the 16 inheritor species worked together to understand the ancient knowledge left. For them, Zara stood on the observation platform of the Legacy Research Station, a massive facility constructed in neutral space. Its sweeping crystalline architecture incorporated design elements from all Confederation cultures, a physical symbol of their new cooperation. Below her in the central chamber, representatives from 12 species gathered around a holographic projection of the latest predecessor installation discovered beneath the methane seas of a distant moon. The Legacy Council had located 27 sites so far, each containing different aspects of predecessor knowledge, each activated by different combinations of inheritor species. Not all discoveries had been technological. Some contained philosophical concepts, artistic expressions, or scientific theories that challenged fundamental understandings of reality. Together, they painted a picture of the predecessors not just as advanced beings, but as a civilization that valued diversity, creativity, and ethical development. Alongside technological progress, Kate joined Zara at the railing, her golden skin glowing softly in the station's light. "Would you have believed this possible back at the university?" she asked. "When we were just trying to survive that impossible exam," Zara smiled at the memory. Those days seemed distant now, belonging to a different life. 5 years ago, the Thaxans were advocating for human containment. Now they're leading the architectural engineering team for the new Legacy Academy. The Legacy Academy would train students from all Confederation species in understanding and applying predecessor knowledge. Its construction represented a significant shift in how the galactic community approached education and knowledge sharing. Not everything has changed. Though Kate noted, the Prokian cluster still refuses to join the legacy initiatives. They see it as a threat to their traditional ways. The resistance was expected. Zara thought, not all species welcomed the rapid changes the predecessor discoveries had triggered. Some conservative factions feared cultural contamination or loss of identity. Others worried about the pace of technological advancement. Some simply distrusted cooperation between species with long histories of conflict. Darax the Eye, Thaxan scientist, approached his armored form, modified with new communication implants developed through predecessor technology. The implants allowed for direct neural translation, eliminating the delay and distortion of mechanical translators. "The activation sequence for the methane sea installation is complete," he said. The Aqualis and Thaxan teams worked well together. "The site contains atmospheric manipulation technologies beyond our current science." Zara nodded. The discovery could help terraform hostile worlds, making them habitable for various species. Each predecessor site revealed technologies that complemented previous findings, like pieces of a vast puzzle gradually forming a coherent picture. The three of them moved to the main research hub where Mia coordinated the technical analysis teams. The hub buzzed with activity as scientists from multiple species collaborated, each bringing unique perspectives and approaches. "The genetic activation continues in all 16 inheritor species," Mia reported. "The dormant sequences are becoming more active as we work with predecessor technology. The changes appear beneficial: increased neural efficiency, improved cellular repair, enhanced sensory processing." This aspect of the legacy remained controversial. The idea that predecessor contact was literally changing inheritor species at a genetic level triggered fear among some factions. They worried about unintended consequences, unforeseen changes that might alter the essential nature of their species. Zara understood these concerns. She had wrestled with them herself. The predecessors had embedded this potential in their genetic code millions of years ago, setting humanity and other species on an evolutionary path without their knowledge or consent. Yet the evidence suggested these changes represented enhancement, not fundamental alteration. The predecessors had respected the core nature of each species, while nurturing potential for growth. High Counselor Nara arrived, her luminous form brighter than when Zara had first met her. "The Confederation Council has approved the next phase," she announced. "The legacy knowledge will be integrated into the general education systems of all member worlds with appropriate cultural adaptations." This represented a significant victory. For years, the Legacy Council had advocated for wider distribution of predecessor knowledge, arguing it was meant for all sentient life, not just the 16 inheritor species. The decision would accelerate cultural and technological development across thousands of worlds. The news should have been cause for celebration, but Zara noticed tension in Nara's energy pattern. "Something else has happened, hasn't it?" she asked. High Counselor dimmed slightly. "Our long-range observatories have detected unusual energy signatures beyond the galactic rim," she said. "Similar to predecessor technology, but different, possibly more advanced." The announcement silenced nearby conversations. This was unexpected. The predecessors had left no indication of other transcended civilizations. Could it be the predecessors themselves? Asked Kate. "Perhaps in a more evolved state." Nara rippled with uncertainty. "The energy patterns are consistent with a transcended species, but the variations suggest a different evolutionary path. The signatures appear to be moving toward our galaxy, though at their current speed, they would not arrive for several centuries." Darax straightened his armored form. Alert, but not alarmed, he said. "The Thaxan approach to potential unknowns. We should increase deep space monitoring while continuing our current research," Zara agreed. The Legacy Council had learned to balance caution with curiosity. Another transcended civilization approaching might represent a new chapter in their understanding of the cosmos. Perhaps even contact with the predecessors themselves, as the discussion continued. Zara reflected on how much had changed. The Confederation had evolved from a loose alliance of competing species into a more integrated community bound by shared discovery. The inheritor species, once suspicious of each other, now led collaborative efforts that benefited all worlds. Not that the transition had been smooth. Cultural misunderstandings, political resistance, and occasional conflicts had tested the new alliances. Some conservative factions still opposed the changes, arguing for a return to traditional boundaries and limitations. But with each new predecessor discovery, more species recognized the benefits of cooperation. 2 days later, Zara found herself in the Legacy Council's executive chamber. The representative from each inheritor species gathered to discuss the implications of the energy signatures beyond the galactic rim. The chamber was designed to accommodate the physical needs of all 16 species with specialized environments for each representative. High Counselor Nara presented the latest findings. "The energy signatures have changed course," she announced. "They appear to be responding to our activation of predecessor sites. Their new trajectory will bring them to our galaxy within 50 years rather than centuries." The announcement triggered immediate debate. Some representatives advocated caution, suggesting a temporary halt to predecessor site activations. Others argued for accelerated research, believing preparation was the best response to potential contact. The holographic display behind her showed the predecessor installation, and the data they had retrieved. Scientific analysis confirmed the site was over 10 million years old, yet the technology remained functional far beyond anything the Confederation possessed. The predecessors seeded hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Zara continued, each with the potential to develop sentient life. They embedded dormant genetic sequences in these developing species. These sequences activate gradually as species advance, responding to technological and cultural milestones. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The implications were staggering, affecting every member species. High Counselor Nara floated forward, her energy form pulsing with intensity. "The analysis confirms 16 species within the Confederation carry these genetic markers," she announced. "Humans show the highest activation level, but the Luminarians, Coraxians, and several others show significant development as well." The Thaxan representative rose, his armored form gleaming under the chamber lights. "This only confirms our fears," he declared. "The humans accessed restricted knowledge and now claim special status as chosen inheritors. This threatens the balance of power that has maintained peace for millennia." Zara shook her head. "The predecessors chose multiple species, not just humans," she replied, "each with different qualities and potential. Each activation sequence emphasizes different traits. The Thaxans carry markers emphasizing resilience and determination, just as valid as human adaptability or Luminarian perception." This revelation caused surprise among the Thaxan delegation. They had not expected to be included among the inheritor species. The data contains activation protocols for all 16 species, continued Zara. The predecessor message was clear. Their knowledge was meant to be shared, not hoarded by any single species. A Coraxian elder rose her crystalline form, refracting light across the chamber. Then why did only humans fully activate the book artifact, she asked. What makes your species different? Zara had anticipated this question. According to the data, humans developed along an unusual evolutionary path, she explained. Our planet presented specific challenges that created strong selection pressures for adaptability, problem-solving, and cooperative behavior. The same traits the predecessors valued in their own civilization. She gestured to the holographic display, which shifted to show evolutionary timelines for different species. The predecessors were not creating weapons or servants, she said. They were seeking potential partners. Species that might eventually bridge the gap between physical existence and their transcended state. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled, each species processing what this meant for their understanding of galactic history and their place in the cosmos. Eventually, High Counselor Nara spoke. What do you propose? She asked. The knowledge you discovered could transform civilization, but it could also destabilize power structures that have maintained peace for thousands of years. Zara took a deep breath. This was the crucial moment. She had discussed this extensively with Kate Mia and her human colleagues. Their decision would shape humanity's relationship with the Confederation for generations. I propose the creation of a new division within the Confederation, she said, the predecessor Legacy Council, with representatives from all 16 inheritor species. Its purpose would be to study, activate, and ethically distribute the knowledge contained in predecessor installations throughout the galaxy. No single species would control access. All discoveries would be shared equally. The proposal triggered immediate debate. Some representatives welcomed the inclusive approach. Others, particularly those from species without predecessor markers, feared being left behind. To address these concerns, Zara continued, I further propose that each inheritor species partner with non-inheritor allies. The goal is not to create a new hierarchy, but to ensure all Confederation members benefit from this discovery. The debate continued for hours, each faction raising concerns, asking questions, seeking assurances. Zara, Kate, and Mia answered as best they could, supported by the data they had gathered. The scientific evidence was compelling, but politics and fear remained powerful obstacles. As the session neared its end, the Thaxan representative requested the floor one final time. The humans proposed sharing, he said, his voice surprisingly measured. But words come easily. Actions prove intent. If humans truly believe in equality among species, they must demonstrate it. He turned to face Zara, the Thaxan collective. Demands equal access to all predecessor sites, including the original installation you discovered. No species should have privileged access. Zara met his gaze without hesitation. I agree. She said each site should be studied by mixed teams with representatives from multiple species working together. That was always our intention. Her ready agreement seemed to surprise the Thaxan he had expected. Resistance. High Counselor Nara called for a vote. The proposal to establish the predecessor Legacy Council passed. With a narrow margin, the 16 inheritor species would work together with oversight from the main Confederation Council. Each discovery would be shared. Each advancement carefully managed to prevent destabilization. As the session ended, representatives clustered in groups discussing the implications. Some approached Zara and her colleagues with questions or comments. Others kept their distance, still wary of human intentions. Counselor Alara glided to Zara's side, her Medusan tentacles rippling with complex emotions. You have changed the course of galactic history, she said. Today marks the beginning of a new era. Whether it leads to advancement or conflict remains to be seen. Zara nodded, aware of the responsibility they now carried. This knowledge was never meant for humans alone, she said. The predecessors believed diversity was essential to progress. No single species has all the answers. As they left the chamber, Kate whispered, "The real work begins now. Politics, rivalries, old grudges, none of that disappeared today. We still have to prove this can actually work." The next morning, representatives from the 16 inheritor species gathered in a smaller chamber to begin organizing the Legacy Council. Zara was surprised to see Darax, the Thaxan researcher who had previously shown such hostility toward humans, appointed as his species representative. When she entered, he approached her, his armored form less intimidating in the morning light. "My species voted for me because I understand the stakes," he said, his translation device conveying a tone of pragmatism. "We Thaxans are warriors by nature, but we are not fools. If the predecessors chose multiple species, including both humans and Thaxans, there must be purpose in our differences." Zara offered her hand in the human gesture of alliance. "Differences bring strength," she said. "When combined properly." Darax hesitated, then clasped her hand briefly. His armor was cool against her skin, the beginning of understanding, if not yet trust. The Legacy Council began its work establishing protocols for accessing and studying predecessor installations. 3 mixed teams were formed, each including representatives from multiple species. The first would return to the moon installation Zara had discovered. The second would investigate a site located beneath a frozen ocean on a distant world. The third would study the book artifact in the archives more thoroughly as preparations proceeded. Kate cornered Zara in a quiet moment. "You do realize what you've done," she said. Her golden skin glowed with a mix of admiration and concern. "No human has ever wielded this kind of influence in the Confederation. You've essentially created a new power structure within galactic politics." Zara watched the various representatives, collaborating on mission parameters. "I didn't do it alone," she replied. "And this isn't about power, it's about potential. The predecessors saw something in all these species, something worth preserving and nurturing." Mia joined them, holding mission briefings. "For the first expedition, the Coraxian scientists have analyzed the dormant genes in all 16 species," she said. "They believe the sequences activate in response to specific thought patterns and problem-solving approaches. Not just technological advancement, but ways of thinking. That explains why the book responded to you," said Kate. "Each artifact might require different activation methods depending on which species traits it was designed to respond to." Darax approached, interrupting their conversation. "The first expedition team departs tomorrow," he said. "You will join us, human. The Council believes your presence will facilitate activation of the installation systems." Zara nodded, accepting both the invitation and the responsibility. It represented the journey ahead would be challenging. Centuries of species rivalries and suspicions would not disappear overnight. But the predecessor legacy offered something the Confederation desperately needed: a common purpose larger than individual species interests. That evening she stood on the observation deck watching the stars. The same stars the predecessors had observed millions of years ago before they transcended physical form. Somewhere among those distant points of light, they continued their existence, watching, waiting to see if their inheritors would fulfill their potential.